pueden integrar, qué herramientas comerciales le podemos entregar a nuestros clientes para diferenciarnos del resto de las marcas. Si bien es cierto, puede que en un inicio esto no sea una compra, pero sí puede ser un sistema que vaya a ser escalable y que pueda dar una solución integral después al hospital o a la clínica, ¿ya? Bueno, les dejo a Lars, él habla inglés solamente. Tenemos varias personas que nos pueden ayudar en la traducción. Si hay algo que no se entiende, por favor levante la mano. Él va a hablar lento y si tenemos preguntas que hacer, las podemos traducir Carlos o yo, las personas que estemos acá que podemos hablar inglés, ¿ok? Así que le damos la bienvenida a Lars. Gracias, Lars. Thank you very much for coming.
Hola. Buenos días. That's all the Spanish I know. Sorry. And this is the first time I come to Chile. It's summer here, right? Because I came from Germany last week. Germany is winter, very cold. It was raining, and we went to the Medica every day, and it's freezing. So on Saturday we came here. It's very nice weather, a lot of sunshine, very warm, and I love it. And we're still waiting for someone from here, from the Skype. Yeah. Okay. So actually, I'm in charge of the patient monitoring and life support product lines, especially for the high-end monitors. So the definition of high-end monitor is the modularized patient monitors. From Mindray we have the N series, now only N series. Before we have the T series as well, Beneview T series, but it's discontinued. So now we only have the N series, but luckily we have a lot of models from N17, N15, N12, and also we have N19, N22, and including the telemetry, and also transport N1, the transport monitor. And as well, we have the central stations. And it's not only a central station, but we have central monitoring system, including the central station, workstation, and view station. So today, in my presentation, I will introduce some of these solutions and also give you an idea of how we are doing now in Europe. Because in Europe we have a lot of reference hospitals installed in the total solution, not only single patient monitor, but the total solution, the transport solution, the OR solution, the ICU solution, the alarm management solution. So let's see what they are doing using our products and systems. And actually, I joined Mindray about 11 years ago. So I joined Mindray in 2008, and I started as a service engineer in charge of Africa. So I used to travel in Africa a lot. Africa, there are a lot of undeveloped countries that they don't even have the patient monitor in the ICU. So it's different kind of situation in Africa, and then after maybe 1 or 2 years I moved to Europe in charge of Mindray Europe service department, and after that I become a sales manager in charge of the Scandinavia countries, Nordic countries, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland. So all these countries, they are very developed countries, and these countries, they have a lot of requirements in the IT solutions. So it's a basic requirement. If you don't have, you are out. Especially in Nordic, Nordic countries, right? Yes. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland and Iceland, all these countries, very developed, very small population, but very rich country. And the IT is very standard. So they have for example, in Denmark, the whole Denmark, they are in 5 regions, divided in 5 regions. So each region, all the hospitals, they are managed by the same IT department, all the hospitals. Because in Scandinavia, 99% of the hospitals are public. They don't have private only very small clinics. So 99% of the hospitals are public, and public hospitals, they have the same management. They even share the same server. So at the beginning, it's very hard for us to penetrate into those hospitals, because Philips, Netherlands is next to Denmark, and Germany is next to Denmark. So the headquarters of Philips is in Netherlands, and R&D center of Philips is in Germany. So Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark. So at that time, I think in 2012, in Denmark, Philips has more than 95% market share, patient monitor. and Draeger.
Hello.
Hello. You do this?
¿Es necesario?
Do you need? I think
Okay, it's important
for these guys.
Yes.
Okay, sure. So I put it in here.
Díganle a los que están conectados que se pongan el mucho.
In here.
Yo lo estoy escribiendo acá en el otro.
Okay.
Laura?
Yes, I'm sorry.
¿Puedes bajar el volumen a esto?
Pero me da miedo que si no se le escuche la de él.
Y si no, lo vamos a tener que hacer.
Now, okay. Hello. Or need to I speak like this? Hello. No. Ah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I just put it here. Okay.
No, but you should.
No. You here? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. Now it's okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Where were we in Denmark? Okay. In Denmark. So at the beginning, it's very hard to sell anything to the Denmark hospital because it's not only because of Philips is very strong. Another situation is all the monitors of Philips are connected to the same network, to the same database. So if we want to sell one monitor to this hospital, we need to connect into Philips network, which is impossible because it's a private network from Philips. So the hospital said, okay, either you connect your monitor to the Philips network, either you replace the whole Philips network, which is thousands of patient monitors from different hospitals. At that moment, it's not possible. So from 2012 and to 2016, we don't have any business in Denmark. But slowly from Sweden and from Norway, the situation is better. So it's only single hospitals and maximum 4 hospitals in a chain, and slowly we build up our reputation in Denmark, in Sweden, in Norway, and also in Finland. So last year in Denmark, we got one of the big projects. It's EPN. I think we won a project of more than 800 units of EPN in Denmark, and then from there we have started our real high-end business in Denmark. And hopefully next year we have more installations in Denmark.
Sorry for these 800 monitors.
Yes.
You had your own IT solution, or you are connected to the?
We have our own IT solution.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this is just the beginning. I will show you some more information about these projects, and after the first presentation, because for the first presentation, I would like to introduce some of the basics of healthcare IT, and maybe something we don't have, okay, but just give you a full picture of what's happening in the hospital. And yeah. So first, one question: why we need healthcare IT? So sometimes this is also a question from the hospital. We're promoting healthcare IT solution for you, and the hospital asks why I need it. For the moment, I'm fine with everything on paper. It's fine, but let's take a look. So this is a very typical ICU, especially neurology intensive care unit. A lot of devices, a lot of instruments, including the patient monitor, the EEG machine, the hemodynamic patient monitor, the infusion pumps, the leaflocks, the ISO2 monitoring, and also the pen monitoring, the blood flow in the brain, a lot of things. So all these devices, the main purpose is to collecting the data from the patient, right? To monitor the patient to see if it is better or not, because you cannot always have a doctor at the side of the patient. So all these monitors collecting the data and display on their own screen. Okay, and now how to collect these data and feedback to the doctor? They use paper. Okay, I believe that this is happening also here, right? Everything on paper, and especially in Germany, because before I thought Germany as a highly developed country, these hospitals should be everything on computer at least. But our colleague in Mindray, Germany, they told me more than 70% of the hospital in Germany still everything on paper. Okay, but you know, in Turkey seems to be a less developed country compared with Germany. But in Turkey, they have already, I think, more than 40% of hospitals using systems to help them collecting data. So this is a totally different concept. But anyway, okay, everything on paper. Still, the doctor, they need to read the paper from the patient, because for especially for intensive care, that you need to write down the vital signs and the liquid balance and the drug they use and all the status at least every 1 hour. Okay, so that means the nurse needs to spend a lot of time writing everything onto the paper. So for some critical patient, maybe every half an hour, every 15 minutes. So the nurse needs to spend a lot of time on paperwork, right? And the doctors, unfortunately, they need to read through all these raw data to try to get some idea of this patient status and then make a decision based on these data, but very limited. Okay, and sometimes it's not easy to read, right? All these charts. This is a real case. It's the anesthesia charting for one surgery, I think. So it's not easy to read what is in here, and so it's not easy to find something useful from this chart. And the most difficult thing is sometimes because the hospital, they have different countries have different regulation. You need to keep the medical record for more than 20 years or 30 years. So after 20 years or 30 years, it will be like this. Okay, so everything in the mess, you cannot even find the record. And this is the situation everywhere. In China, in Europe, in Latin America, in Asia Pacific. So even maybe in Africa it's a different story. They don't even have these records. Okay, but in most countries still they are still in this phase. Even in the US, they have still like 20% of hospitals using this paper, everything on paper. So obviously now we have everything on computer, because now computer is very popular, right? Every family, every people, every office, every hospitals, every department, they have computer. So in order to collecting data on paper, it's better to show everything on the screens. So show on the screen is one part, but the most important part is to collecting data to the computer, characterized. And also you can have access to the data from the iPad, from your mobile phone, everywhere, wherever you are. You have the mobile phones to access the data, and sometimes they use before they have Google Glass, you know, now it's discontinued, but now they have a lot of companies doing the VR and the AR, so they can present the data in front of the doctor when the hands are occupied during the surgery. Okay, so they can display the PACS system in front, and when the doctor is working on the patient with no hands available. So obviously a lot of technologies now, they bring a lot of new stuff, new solutions to the healthcare industry and make life much easier. And what we can do, first we need to know how we can build up the system based on these technologies, because technology is technology. We need to use this technology to build up a system for the hospital. Let's take a look at what we can do. We can design a lot of workflow based on these technologies, at the EMR entry. EMR stands for electronic medical record. So it's an electronic record for patient. And EMR entry means how to collect the data from everywhere, all the system into one system. And scoring management, you know a lot of scorings, right? Early warning score, like the PAN score, Apache score, sepsis score. So a lot of scoring, how to manage this, not on paper, but on systems. And physicians' order entry, when they need to issue an order, it's not by pen, but on paper, but everything on the system. And send order to the ICU, and the nurse receive and then put it into the patient. Care plan entry, alarm management, device management, and also a lot of billing system. Something like, because these are just some examples
not all of them. So it can be hundreds of applications. And some of these applications, they are linked to each other. For example, like the device management. Device management is not only to check, to monitor if the device is working fine, or it's standby, or it's something. It's monitoring, for example, in this bed, which devices are used. Patient monitor, which parameters is used, and ventilator or infusion pump, how many pumps are used. And after the whole session, after the patient check out, all these data will be collected and sent to the billing system based on the application of this, how long for the monitor has been used. They will charge the insurance company based on this data. So it's automatic. Okay. So these are some examples, but we need to see a full picture. Next slide, I will show you a full picture. So for the hospital information system, we call HIS, HIS, Hospital Information System. It's a very big concept. Can be any system in the hospital. Can be a hospital information system, including the email system, including the billing system, the warehouse management system, the logistics system, or even the catering system, right? And can be belongs to HIS, but this we don't care. We don't care about the billing. We don't care about the logistics. We only care about what the clinical part. The clinical information system is part of the HIS. Okay, so the whole HIS, and in there is the clinical information system we call CIS. CIS. So clinical information system is to collecting the data from the patient and to present in the format of display. But clinical is also a very wild concept. Can be in laboratory, in the PACS, in radiology, or in the intensive care, or whatever. So they have different clinical information systems. They have LIS, Laboratory Information System. They have PACS or RIS for radiology, or PACS. PACS is the bigger. So for ultrasound, for X-ray, for CT scan, for MRI, everything. So it's picture archive and the communication system. And also they have the ACIS, Acute Care Information System. But this is not how to say an official name. This can be different from different company, you know. So we just call it Acute Care Information System. But these two, LIS and PACS, they are more standards. Okay. And also the difference between LIS, PACS, and ACIS is ACIS, how to say, a lot of customization. Homemade, yeah. So, for example, in one hospital, in the ICU, if they need a acute care information system, it's not one size fits all. You may spend a lot of time, 1 year or 2 years, a deployment team in this hospital, collecting the requirements, modify the systems and according to the patient hospital's requirements. So it will take a lot of time and resource. You know, Mindray, we had this business in China about in 2014, our own information system, and we spent about 2 years in the top level hospital in China. It's in the Sun Hospital near Shenzhen, near our headquarters. I was there, so I spent day and night in the ICU, stay with the nurse and tell them how to use, and then in the end the company said, okay, this is a totally different business model compared with the device. Okay, so then in 2015 we stopped this project. So now we don't have any, but we are in cooperation with a lot of different companies. But anyway, that's a different story. But for PACS and LIS, they are more standard. So it's just for picture, for report, archive, and the generation and analysis. So this is just like one size fits all. You just buy the system, deploy it, and that's it. Okay. So all these systems, LIS, PACS, and ACIS, the purpose is to collecting the data. But still, the nurse, they need to collect the data, right? This is computerized. So the difference of the work mode is not writing on the paper, but type into the computer. Still, the nurse needs to spend a lot of time to type in. Sometimes the nurse even prefer to use paper because it's easier for them. And for systems, sometimes For some aged nurse, they don't like the system. They don't like the computer. It's very difficult for them to type in the data. But anyway, we'll find some way to help them with this as well. But yeah, this is some kind of sys from the bedside. Normally, they will have a trolley. So this is a Mindray sys. It doesn't exist anymore. So it was in the past. But anyway, we had this still running in this hospital. Only one hospital running Mindray sys. So normally they have a trolley, and with the workstation, you can move to different beds, because one nurse maybe take care of 2 or 3 beds. They can move between different beds, different patients. And for some hospitals, maybe one workstation for each bed. Nurse, they don't need to move the trolley between different rooms, and they just stay there. But actually, this is a computer. It can be a laptop or a computer. This is a PC, okay? This is the screen, and in there they have batteries for like 8 hours, something like that. So some examples of charting, and here is one of the display. So timelines, okay, and different data from vital signs or drugs or liquid balance or anything. Just type in into the chart, okay. But still, this will take a long time, a lot of times, because for some emergency patient, when they arrive, they need to be recorded every 5 minutes, something like that. So if the machine, if the device is at the bedside, they can feed the system automatically. This will help them a lot. The nurse no need to type in, automatically collecting, okay, and also reduce the manual error, okay, the typo is not the risk anymore. But still, these systems, the purpose is to collecting the data. But doctors, they still need to see a full picture of the patient. No need to go to different systems, but they have another system dedicated for a doctor. Sometimes it's called doctor's workstation. It's the EMR, electronic medical record. It has all the entries in the EMR to all the patients. So the EMR is like profile for the patient, but including all the data. Something like this. Something like this. This is a very basic EMR system for the doctor. So from the picture, you can see a profile of the patient, okay? And what is the problem of this patient? The results from different analysis, okay? Reports, ECG or laboratory reports, and notes, medication, orders, and sheets. So everything related with this patient is here. The doctor, they can just go to different slides, different pages to find the information, but no need to go to different systems, which is very important. But this is very basic. They have also a lot of other systems, like this is some kind of, this is an Italian company, Digistat, called Digistat. Now it's part of ESCOM. So they have a lot of graphic view to let the doctor know what is the status, where is the wound, where is the intubation, where are the catheters, okay? And also for the chief of the ICU, maybe they have some statistics of the risk of the infection, of the average stay of the patient in different beds, and also there are dashboards for the head nurse or the head of the ICU. So different beds, one bed is one block, and different color, green, orange, red, indicates different status of the patient. The patient is critical or is calm, okay? And who is the doctor in charge, who is the nurse in charge of this bed, and also for balance the workload of the nurse and doctors. Okay. So these are just some examples of EMR. As I mentioned, EMR is different from different company. And even for one company, they develop the different EMR functions for different hospitals. Sometimes in the same hospital, different departments, they have different functions. Okay, so this is also why they will take a lot of time and resource to develop. But anyway, we don't have the EMR, we don't have the SIS system, we don't have the HIS system, so we only focus on our devices. But anyway, the healthcare information development is developed from the paper-based to traditional digital healthcare and to the new generation digital healthcare. So for some Asia Pacific countries, sometimes it's better because for US, it's very developed. They develop from the paper-based to the traditional to the digital. But sometimes, like in China, we don't have this. We jump from the paper-based directly to the new generation because the technology is already here. We don't need to go through the traditional and to the new generation, right? The technology is very easy to deploy. And when everything is in the EMR digitalized, now it's easy to go to the next step. Next step is PHIS. It stands for Population Health Information System. It's not EMR is for one patient, and PHIS is for the whole country, the whole population. So it's like a hospital, different hospital have EMR, and then they send the data to the one server we call EHR. Okay, and when you collect more data from the EHR, it's becoming a population health information system. Okay, so now a lot of not countries, but like in the US, some states already started the PHIS system, and also like in Denmark, in Singapore, some countries they started this project. Yeah, this is something in Singapore. So you know, Singapore is a very small city, country, right? A city as well. So this is the whole Singapore. They divided in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regions. Okay, and each region they have a regional hospital. This regional hospital is the top level in IT. They have the EMR in local, and in local clinics and GPs, they are sharing the same database with this regional hospital. And they send the data from the EMR to the national EHR to generate a big database for the whole Singapore population. So this is already happening like 4 years ago in Singapore. And also happening in Korea, in Denmark, and in some states of the United States. Yeah. Okay. And another topic, because I mentioned here, I see stage 7 hospitals. Do you know what is the stage 7 hospital? Stage 7 hospital stands for the HIMSS, EMR adoption model, stage 7. So HIMSS is a organization in the US. It's called Healthcare Informatics Management System Society. Okay, it's a like organization, and they define or they give levels according to the hospital informatics level, EMR adoption. If this hospital has no EMR, everything on paper, it's 0. If the hospital has full deployed EMR, paperless workflow in the whole hospital, it's stage 7. So in between they have different steps. Okay, and stage 7 hospitals is always the top level. Even stage 6 in some countries, there are no stage 6 hospitals. Okay, so for example, in the whole Europe, stage 7 hospital there are only 4. In the whole Europe, only 4 stage 7. But in the US they have a lot. This is not because sometimes this is not because the hospitals in Europe they are much lower than in the US. It's because the HIMSS is from the US. So they have a very good marketing because the scoring is not free of charge. They need to charge a lot of money from the hospital. It's like a joint commission. You know, the JCI. Mm-hmm. The JCI would charge the hospital a lot of money, and then to help you to build up your workflow. So HIMSS is similar, but they charge less and less time. Okay, so some hospitals in Europe think, okay, I'm already very developed. Why should I spend such money to just give a certificate? So some of these hospitals, they didn't join this program. But anyway, this is just for a reference. And this is the stage, different stages in Europe. You can see like, okay, stage 5, 6, 7, these 3 stages, very top level. So you can see in Denmark, 100% of the hospitals, they are stage 5. This is very strange, right? And this is only because Denmark, as I mentioned, they have only one IT department managing the whole public hospitals. And in Denmark, all hospitals are public. Okay, so that's why they are very standard. And in Germany, you can see it's only less than 17 or 17% of hospitals. And you can see in Turkey, it's even more than Germany, right? Okay. So in Europe, average about stage 5, 6, 7 is about 30%. But let's take a look at the US. This is Middle East. Okay, Middle East also developing from the 2015. The data is not updated. Anyway, a little bit more than 30%, and Asia Pacific is very poor. It's more than 10%. So still, because of the population, because of the lot of undeveloped countries, so the stages in Asia Pacific is very low. But let's take a look at the US. This is the US in 2012, and this is 2016. So from 2016, stage 5, 6, 7 is more than 70%. That means more than 70% they are very developed in IT. But let's go back 4 years to 2011 and 12. It's also very low. So that means to develop the HIMSS, it takes very short time. Just when the government has a policy, when the government has money to invest into the healthcare IT, because the technology is already there. It's not a new technology. Okay, so I see a lot of trendings in Latin America, like in Argentina, in Brazil, in Colombia, and also in Chile. A lot of hospitals that are now heading to the healthcare. Yeah. So let's see what's happening in Argentina. In Latin America. HIMSS stage 6 hospitals. We have Brazil a lot of hospitals in Brazil. They have stage 6, and also Argentina have Hospital Italiano, and in Chile you have Clínico Las Condes. Yeah, this is the only one stage 6 hospitals in Chile. Okay, and but all these hospitals, some of them are very top level, like the Albert Einstein Hospital. I think it's the #1 hospital in the whole Latin America, right? And this Hospital Italiano is the #2. And this hospital, Unimed, you know Unimed, right? In Brazil is the, I think, #3 hospital group. And this is Unimed Recife 3. It's the first stage 7 hospital in the whole Latin America. But I think last year they have more hospitals join the stage 7 group. And also HIMSS has their own local organizations in the Latin America, so they will run some local events in Chile, in Colombia, in Brazil, a lot of that. So if you want to know some local healthcare IT trends, status, you could join this congress arranged in local markets. Yeah. But also, they have every year they have the annual congress in the U.S., sometimes in Florida, sometimes in Las Vegas, in different cities. So I was there in Las Vegas, I think 2 or 3 years ago. It's very impressive. A lot of visitors. It's in actually it's arranged in the casino, in the Venetian casino. So in day 1, there's still a lot of people join the congress because you need to pass the whole casino lobby until you can reach the conventional center. So on day 2 and day 3, you can see less and less people can make the way through the casino. They stay in the casino and not reach the conventional center. But anyway, yeah, it's an event. Okay, so that's something about the basics of healthcare IT, very basics. And but at least now you go to the hospital, you talk with the IT department of the hospital, you understand what they are talking about. Okay, what is the HIS, what is the SIS, what's the EMR, and yeah, some basic knowledge of this. And for Mindray, of course, we are developing our healthcare IT solutions, even we don't have a system, but still, in 1991 we have the first patient monitor, and then we have the central monitoring station, the HL7 interface to communicate between Mindray and other systems, and gateway interface, and finally for device integration to integrate other brands, other devices, iView, the bedside workstation, the seamless transport monitor, the T1 transport, at the 2012, and enterprise network access, the standard for hospital IT, and we are going to have a cloud healthcare solution next year based on HL7 Fire. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of these in the following slides. But for Mindray, as I mentioned, this is a full picture of healthcare IT, from the basic architecture and the interoperability and clinical information systems. So Mindray, we are only involved in the medical devices and systems. Systems means central monitoring systems. Okay, it's not these systems. Okay, and device integration between Mindray and third-party companies, and also infrastructure networks. So we design the network infrastructure for the hospital according to the hospital requirements. So we have a bundle. Our bundle is these red ones. We're not approaching to any of these systems, at least not now. Because I know that Mindray have a lot of money because they're now listed in the Chinese market, Chinese stock exchange market, so they have a lot of money to spend. But I don't know when they were going to buy an information system, this year or next year. You never know. And for the Mindray patient monitoring IT, I'm talking about PMLS IT. For ultrasound, for the laboratory, they have their own IT. They have PACS, they have the list. For me, I'm only in charge of PMLS, so we are only involved in these red regions for the device connectivity and monitors, central monitoring systems, and system connectivities. We only provide interface between Mindray and the hospital. Okay, we don't provide these systems. And so in the next slide, I'm going to talk something about this part. Okay, because I already introduced some of these parts in the hospital. And what's happening with this, because we don't have the hospital systems. What can we tell the story about our current products? This is very important. And we have total solutions, as you may know, that in different stages of the hospital, emergency ward, patient transport, operating theater, intensive care, and general wards, in different steps, we have different solutions. So it's easier for you to understand by following the patient pathway. When the patient first arrives, maybe from the ambulance to the emergency ward, and transport to an OR for surgery, and then to the ICU for monitoring for a few days, and then to general ward or step-down units. So let's see what solution we can provide to the hospital based on what we have now. Okay. So when the patient arrives in emergency, we would like to use a patient monitor, at least, to monitor the patient, right? So for emergency patient, the situation is this patient may need a frequent transport to different departments. To the ICU, maybe the patient is getting bad, getting worse. We need to transport the patient to the ICU or to the OR for surgery. So we need a lot of transportation, and this patient needs no heavy monitoring because you don't know what's needed in the ER. So what we recommend is to use a transport monitor, Benevision N1. Before we have the Beneview T1, now it's the N1. Okay, and what we can do when the patient arrives in the emergency, the first step the nurse needs to do is to input the patient demographics into the monitor. So in the monitor, you know which is the patient, okay? And we need to input patient name, patient ID, blood type, gender, height and weight, and sometimes telephone number, home address, everything about this. But it will take a lot of time, especially using such a small touch screen. It's not possible. So sometimes the nurse will just skip this part. And the result of this is there are a lot of unknown data in the patient monitor. You don't know which data this belongs to, which patient. So this is not good. What we need to do is to reduce this workload for the nurse. So we use the barcode scanner to scan the barcode, because I think most patients, they have the barcode for patient ID or visiting ID of the hospital. But ID is not enough sometimes, or most of the time, ID is not enough. What we do is to connecting to the hospital ADT database. ADT stands for admit, discharge, and transfer. Okay, so this database is part of the HIS. Okay, and where does this data come from? The patient, when they arrive, they need to register in the counter to input everything of this patient into the system. So we're connecting to this data, use the patient ID to ask the system, okay, I need all the information of this patient with this ID. And the system will feed back everything else into the patient monitor. What the nurse need to do is only scan the barcode and press confirm. Everything else will be filled in automatically. So probably in this afternoon I will show you how to use this, how to show an ADT workflow in the hospital. And also we can connect an external screen like this, hello. So this can be also a touch screen, as this is very popular because in the emergency ward or in step down units, when they need transport, but they don't need a big monitor because of the price, of course. So you need only the N1 with the TDS connecting with the external screen. So if they can use mouse and keyboard, it will be very cheap for them. But if they need a touch screen, they can also configure with the Hello touch screen. Okay. So this is very popular solution, as I can see. Normally what they do, place the N1 and the display on two sides of the patient. This is the best. N1 here, display here. So the nurse, they can operate the monitor from here or here. No need to run all the way back. Okay, when there's alarm. Okay, so this is the first step. So let's see. In Europe, some of these hospitals are very happy with this. So Philips solution, they have similar solutions. Okay, they use the XDS. I think you know what is XDS, right?
No.
Okay, so let's make another description. Do you know IPC? IPC? Yeah, some of you, yes. So you know, Mindray, we have iView in the N series, which is embedded PC. It's a PC inside the monitor. Okay, so IPC is the same, but it's from Philips. And it's a PC inside the monitor, so you can have a Windows display on the monitor, right? And XDS is to take this IPC out, standalone. It's a medical grade PC, but it's dedicated for Philips. Okay, so the hardware is like this. IPC is, you can take it as a Philips brand medical grade PC with the dedicated Philips software inside. And this PC can connect two monitors and display in the external display. But you know, this is very expensive, even more expensive than the patient monitor itself. But compare with the our solution, XDS is very powerful because from the system you can have a monitor display, you can have access to the hospital information system, you can have access to the web access. But sometimes the hospital, they need is only an external screen. Okay, so this solution is very expensive because they offer something that the hospital, they don't need. Okay.
Sorry, just a second. ¿Alguien sabe acá si es que en Chile hay algún hospital que tenga la solución de Philips? ¿El sistema?
La compraron en la coronaria del Hospital de Los Ángeles, pero nunca la implementaron.
So that means if Philips, they need to offer an external screen solution, they must have a XDS for the transport monitor. Okay. Yeah. And for Mindray, sorry to use the old pictures from T1, but it's the same with the N1. You can have the N1 handle, just to carry the transport monitor, and you can have the TDS handle, okay, with the extra module for transportation. And also you can plug in the N1 into the docking directly, only for charging or for display, and in the whole sets, okay. And for the iView, you can see the iView here. If you are connecting a docking station to the main unit, you can put it onto you can put the IV on a full screen, because for the parameters you can see it from here. There's no risk. Otherwise, you can only display in the window or use an external screen to display. Okay. And this is in Germany, in Bochum University Hospital. So they call it the T1 parking. Now it's replaced to N1. All of them N1. It's like a parking lot, right? A parking lot. So these about 30 units of transport monitor, standby in the parking, charging standby, and then when there's a new patient arrive, they put the patient in the bed, and then they take any of these N1, plug into this docking station, this one. Oh, sorry. Because this docking station is connected to the barcode scanner here. Here's the barcode scanner, connecting to the external screen, and connecting to the network. So what the nurse needs to do is to plug the N1 and scan the barcode, confirm to synchronize all the patient demographics, and monitor for a few hours, and when the patient needs to be transferred to the next department. Okay, so this N1 will follow the patient from now until he check out. Okay, so the most important part is not only the N1 itself, but it's the data inside N1. The N1 will keep all the data of this patient along the way. Okay. So this is some transport scenario. Next step, maybe the patient need to be transferred. Don't worry, I will send to share the PowerPoint to you. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, if you take photos, it's okay. But I will send the PowerPoint to you as well. After the emergency, maybe the patient need to be transferred to the OR for surgery, and we just take the N1 in the TDS with the patient. No need to unplug the cables or whatever, and enter the operating room, insert into the module rack. So the most important is not only the accessories for infection control. This is one part. The second part is when you insert into the module rack, all the data from the previous department will be uploaded to this patient monitor. So the doctor in the OR, they can just review what's happening of this patient in the emergency or in the ICU, okay, to get a general idea if this patient is stable or not, right? Okay. And device integration. So for in the OR, the patient monitor is not the most important part. We still have anesthesia machines, have infusion pumps, or sometimes they have the ECMO, they have some other devices. So all these devices, they generating data, okay? Like the anesthesia of the anesthesia agent, the usage of the anesthesia agent, the dosage of these drugs, and how to collect the data. They have several solutions. First, these devices, also maybe not from Mindray, from Draeger, from Mackay, from GE, from Fresenius, from B. Braun, they have their own interface to send to the hospital information system. Okay, but these will have extra cost from each company. And also the system vendor, they are establishing different interface. Hello, we are late.
Good evening. Good evening.
So in order to connecting different data into one system, the system vendor, they are not happy because they need to spend more time to develop an interface to work on that. So they will charge more as well to the hospital. Okay, we are connecting Mindray, this is one cost, connecting Vibram, another cost, connecting Draeger, the three costs. Okay, but what we do now, we use a bandlink module. Everybody knows the bandlink, right? It's a module, so it can only be used together with the N series monitor. Before also a T series, but now it's only N series. Insert into the module rack. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ports. So that means one module we can connect 4 different kinds of devices. Okay. Sometimes the patient, maybe they are using 2 sets of pumps. It's okay, you can connect it to the same module rack. Okay. For some heavy patient, maybe 16 pumps. Sometimes you can see a lot of intubations. And anesthesia machine or ventilator in different departments. Connecting to the patient monitor. We can display these data in the window. Okay, for ventilator, for pumps, for anesthesia machine, you can choose which one to display. And we can also display the waveforms of the ventilator or anesthesia machine for some models, not all models. Okay. So, but in the OR, sometimes or most of the time, it's not so important to display because you know the anesthesia machine is here, the patient monitor is right next to it. So that maybe the anesthesiologist, I can just see like this. Why put everything onto the same display? Okay, in the OR, it's not important to display, but it's important to collecting data and send to the OR charting system. You can turn off the window, no display, but still all the data will be collected and sent to the charting system. Okay. So these are the models or brands, because I cannot list all the models here, too many. I can share with you a document called Benelink Quick Guide, including all the models we can integrate. For anesthesia machine, it's Draeger, G, Handelunstein, and Maquet. Okay, and for ventilator, it's all of these mainstream vendors and most of these models. Okay, because as you understand, Draeger, they released a new anesthesia machine called Atlan. We are now working on that. Because in the device integration, we are no more competitors. We are partners. Every time when Draeger they have a new device, no matter ventilator or anesthesia machine release, they will send the protocol to us, so that we can develop the interface for us, for them. Because in Europe, Mindray patient monitor has the bigger market share. If they cannot link to Mindray patient monitor, then they have some problem doing their business in Europe. Okay, so this is good actually. This is a good competition and cooperation status. And for others like Vibram pumps, Fresenius pumps, and also we're developing with the Alaris pumps, hopefully to be released next year. And again on top watch, because we have now our own AMT module, so this is not very important. And Centec is also a TC gas. You know, radiometer is the TC gas monitor, transcutaneous gas, and Centec is another company. Radiometer has, I think, more than 90% market share, and Centec has another 10%. Okay, so mainly it's these two companies, and this is cheaper. And Massimo, you know, we have integration with Massimo Redco 7, and now we're developing with Massimo Root. Okay, and Macrotran and Pulsion integrations, and this is growing more and more. Next year we have about 30 different new models to be added into the list. Okay, 30. I don't know if you have made the connection before. Yeah. So it's basically a Benelink module with a cable. This is the standard network cable. You can use any network cable you want, and with the ID adapter. So insert into the back of the serial port of the device, and sometimes because different companies they have different output interface, so you may need a adapter. Okay, but it's basically the same. And then in the
we have those adapters.
Yeah, we have those adapters. Yeah, I think now we have the adapter from A to G or even more. Yeah, different adapters for different models. And in the patient monitor, this is the setup window in the patient monitor. You select which port and which ID. The ID is for the model you want to integrate, because all the drivers they are already in the module. You only need to use the ID to load the right driver to connect. Okay. And our competitors, or Philips, they have a similar solution. They call it intended bridge, EC10 and EC5. Okay, so it's the same, actually very similar. The module, the cable, the adapter. Okay, so EC10 is the module, And EC5 is this part, adapter and ID box. So it's also modularized, but you can see one module for one device. If you need to connect 4, you need 4 modules. Okay, and the problem, how to say, with the internet bridge is not only because of the limitation of this, but of the price. So if you know Mindray pricing very well, if you buy the Benelink module, it's only the module, right? Also the adapters, it's one package. You don't need to pay for the driver, do you? You don't need to pay for the license. You only buy the driver, buy the module, and you can get updated driver free of charge. But doesn't mean that you cannot charge the hospital. That's your yeah. So if you get it from Mindray for free, but for Philips, you need to buy the module first, and also the driver. So the end user price of this is probably $3,000 each. And the problem is, you buy the module, okay, it's compatible with different devices, but the driver is only for one. If now you are using Draeger NSC machine, you buy a module and Draeger NSC machine is $3,000, and next year, okay, I want to buy a new Draeger Atlan, you will pay another $1,500 only for the driver inside. Okay, so this is a problem. Yeah. And the maximum for MX800 and also MX850, they can use 4 modules for one patient monitor. Okay, I'm not sure about 850 and 750 because very limited information so far. Yeah, you all know the new model from Philips, right? 850 and 750 is released here as well, right? I believe. Yeah. Okay, so later on maybe we have more information I will share with you guys. Okay. And besides the EC10 and EC5, Philips has another solution. It's EC40 and EC80. Okay, but this is something we don't have and we don't need. So what's EC40 and EC80? It's something like a device concentrator, external, not in the patient monitor. It's a standalone box. This one, connecting the device into the box, and the box transmits into a PC or a server, and then translate everything directly to the hospital information system. So it's not connecting through the patient monitor. Device to the box and to the system directly. So even the hospital, they are not using Philips monitors, they can still provide the solution. Why? Why they do this? Because Philips, they are not only providing the patient monitor, they also providing the system, information system. They have the internet bridge, clinical care, and the anesthesia, so ICC and ECAP. So even the hospital, they are not using Philips monitors, they are using Philips systems, they use this solution. But Mindray, we don't. If you don't use Mindray patient monitors, why should I connecting your device to a third-party system? Make no sense, right? Okay, so for the Philips integration, these are the list of the devices they can integrate. Most of these models we can integrate as well, but maybe from these ones, from some of the incubators, some of the hemodialysis, and the ECMO, also the Gambro, the blood gas analysis, we don't have yet, but next year we'll develop more into the list. Okay.
They can connect to us?
Yes, Philips, they can connect to Mindray NSC machine. Yeah, because we open the interface for them. And now they are developing with the Mindray ventilator, SV800 and 600. Because Mindray NSC machine has a very big market share in the North American market. Yeah, I think it's, how to say, more than 30% or even more. Mindray and A-series NSC machine, because it's developed for the North American market. So if Philips cannot integrate with Mindray NSC machine, they will lose a lot of business in the US. Okay, and for GE, they have another solution, only one solution called Unity Network ID. It's this box. Okay, it's not a module. It's only like a switch at the bedside. So one switch maximum to 8 devices, and you can share the switch for 2 beds. Okay, 2 beds. And the scenario is like you connect the device, the ventilator, directly to the switch here, and then translate to the GE central station and the information system. And some of the data can be feedback from the central station to the bedside monitor, but it's not real time. Okay, it's with a lot of delay. So the scenario of this is only to collecting data sent to the information systems. Okay. And maybe later on you can open this file, because now it's only a picture. Later on you get this PowerPoint, you can open the file and you see the list of the parameter of the devices, very limited, very small amount of devices. And for Draeger, it's even worse. Okay, you know, Draeger, they have the Infinity MIB pod. It's a pod. You know, Draeger, they don't have module. Everything pod. This pod, that pod, and attached to the pole. So this pod, maximum 4 devices for each converter, and 4 devices for each bed. That is maximum. But the problem for Draeger is the devices they integrate. It's very old. Most of them already discontinued, and most of them they are Draeger, them their own devices. So they are not so open to third-party new products. Okay. So these are something from the device integration of our competitors. And also, here's Mindray. We can integrate maybe, I didn't count, maybe 50 or 60 different kinds of models, or even more. But still, there are some devices we cannot integrate. So far, like ECMO, like hemodialysis, like the incubator. So what the optional, the alternative solution? You know, there's a company called Capsule Tech. Capsule Tech. It's a third-party company. You know, the company, middleware company, they don't have device, they don't have system. What they do is only to provide interface. So they connect devices to the interface and then transmit to different systems. So this is what they do. Okay, so they can connect up to 800 different models of devices and connecting with 70 different systems. So that's a lot. And they are keeping updating all the drivers. But the problem of this solution is the price. It costs about 3,000 euros per bed. Yeah, per bed. Each bed, 3,000 euros, and you need to pay 17% every year of the annual fee. So that's the capsule solution. Also, they have some companies, GE using Orion and Philips before they used Capsule Tech. So we have the Benelink. So now we are developing more on this part, but we keep the cooperation with Capsule Tech. Yeah, we have the cooperation with the Capsule Tech as well. Okay, we come to the iView. We are still in the OR, right? In OR transport, device integration, and device integration to where? To the OR charting system. So normally, when the anesthesiologists, they need the charting. They are working on the computer, right? Anesthesia machine, patient monitor, and anesthesiologist type in all the data into the charting system every minute or every 5 minutes. So type in. But most of the time, you know, anesthesiologist is not busy. The patient is very stable and during the surgery. So what they would like is to allow the device to collect in data automatically and feed into the charting. But still, they need another PC at the anesthesia machine side. But the iView has another solution. We have a embedded PC. This is the N19 or N22 main unit, right? The main unit. Inside this part is the iView. Okay, it's a computer. This is the patient monitor, and this is a computer, a real computer. So has the CPU inside, RAM inside, USB ports, and the display external extensions, and network port, isolated from the monitor. So the only way is they share the screen. The first half display the monitor, the second half display Windows. So from the Windows, you can have access to anything you like. The path, the list, the EMR, the charting system, whatever you want. You can even go to Google, YouTube during the anesthesia. Yeah. So this is all in one, embedded into the same patient monitor. But our benefit is we have this, we call it portrait display. It's a vertical, it's not horizontal, right? It's vertical. So the benefit of this is you can split the screen into two halves. First half display all the monitor. Second half display all the windows. They don't have any interference. Otherwise, you will block most of the screen. Only one trace of ECG waveform. This is the problem. Okay. So this is the eye view, and now we are upgrading to Windows 10 already. Windows 10 upgraded, and with the higher RAM and graphic chart. So from this picture, you can see a better view of the networking. This part is the patient monitor, and this part is this. Okay. So network for patient monitor, USB for patient monitor, display extension for patient monitor, and this is network for iView, display extension for iView, and USB for iView. So it's totally isolated device. Okay, they only in the same box, sharing the same power supply and the display. Okay, so from here you connect the patient monitor into the monitoring network. Okay, and from here you can connect to anywhere you like. You can also connect to the internet. Okay, connect to the hospital network as well, depending on which one you want to do. You know, sometimes they have a lot of applications, like in the ICU in Israel. You know Israel, right? In Jerusalem, we have one hospital because in the ICU they are fully isolated. So the family, they cannot enter the ICU to see the patient. Okay, so what they do is they have a web camera connected to the patient monitor. Okay, and then the picture can see the family from here, and also the family can see the patient from outside. Yeah, because this is Windows. It's just using a laptop in front of you. It's the same, right? So I have a lot of different scenarios, and also our dealer in Finland, they are also a dealer of how to say it, ultrasound probe. You know, the scanner ultrasound, but it's USB based. It's only a probe with a USB. So you connect it to a laptop, install an app, and then you can see the imaging from the laptop. So they're connecting the probe onto the iView. You can see the ultrasound from the patient monitor. Yeah. So this some very unlimited applications based on the Windows. It's Windows. Okay. The monitor is not Windows. The monitor is based on Linux, but the iView is Windows. Okay.
There are two operating systems, or there are two individual computers?
It's not a virtual. This is physical PC for iView, and this is the physical part for monitor. Yeah, isolated. Windows, Linux. Yeah, because for virtual machine, they're still sharing the same hardware. This is also isolated. Two different hardware. Okay, so you can display like this, and so far it's only Mindray. We can do this, split, and for others they can only do this. So you can only see one waveform and limited parameters. Okay, and if the monitor is connecting with the docking station, you can put iView on full screen. Because for the vital signs, you can still see here. Okay, no risk. Because otherwise, if you put this on full screen, you can see no alarms, no parameters. It's very dangerous for the patient. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, so we have enough time today. And for extension, this is patient monitor extension, and iView extension. So in different scenario. For example, this is for the surgeon, this is for the perfusionist, and this is for the anesthesiologist they use. So very flexible application. And in the OR, with all these device integration into patient monitor, and then with the iView extension display, is a complete anesthesia workstation. Patient monitor, charting, and the C machine. Everything in one place. Okay. And our competitors, Philips, they have IPC. So I will not introduce IPC. They are very similar between Mindray and the Philips. But for GE, they have the iPanel, okay, called iPanel. It's a totally different thing. It's not an embedded PC. It's a remote desktop. You know the difference between the laptop and remote desktop, right? So it's the applications, they are running in the virtual machine, in the Citrix environment, and they only see the remote desktop from the patient monitor. Okay, and the problem of this is, if you need Citrix, the hospital must have a Citrix environment, which is very expensive. And even if the hospital already have Citrix environment, they want to extend to GE applications, also another cost, extra cost. Okay, and for GE iPanel, only compatible with GE applications, not for open for third-party applications. Okay. And for this is the iPanel deployment, GE monitor and iPanel, and a lot of cabling, a lot of power supply for the patient monitors. And Draeger, I think you know this, Infinity Omega solution. Omega solution, they can be compatible with the Delta XL and Kappa monitors, but it's still a external PC. You know, Draeger, they have C700, C500, it's a PC, right? So they're connecting the Delta XL to the docking station, and then the docking station connecting to the PC, and display the monitor and the other information systems. So the problem is, the next slide, a lot of connectings, cablings, recorder pods, different modules, and to the main unit of the IPC, of the C700 PC. A lot of very complicated deployment. Okay, so finally yes.
Lars, what happened with Draeger solution Infinity Acute Care System?
Infinity what system? Acute Care System?
Yes.
In
540 is the model of patient monitors.
Yes, 540.
You know?
Is a transport monitor.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's similar to Infinity solution.
Yes, also compatible. So you can also connect in M540 to the docking station.
Yes.
And then connecting to this as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's similar. It's a similar because M540 they define as the transport monitor, but the parameter they can monitor is a lot. The issue of M540 is this monitor is only standalone.
Yes.
They cannot be connecting to any other Delta or Kappa monitors. It's standalone. It's not like our N1 or Philips X3, X2. They cannot be inserted into any big monitor. It's all alone with the docking station and connecting to a C700. Yeah. So this is the Draeger thing. It's everything standalone. Yeah. Because the Draeger, they don't have so many IT solutions. Now they have the MView. MView is something like web viewer for the patient monitors, but still it's limited. But you know, Draeger in some German-speaking countries, like in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland, they have some systems for anesthesia charting system. They call it Innovian, but that's only for the German language. And maybe in local, I don't know if the Deutsche hospital they have some installations. I don't know. Anyway, finally we have finished the OR session. Let me check what time is it. we have time. Maybe finish the ICU transport. So for the ICU transport, it's similar compared with the OR transport. Only one difference. In the OR, if you transport monitor to the OR, just plug into the big monitor. But in the ICU, there's one difference is in the ICU, normally they have central station, right? So this is different. What's the difference? After you have finished the surgery, you unplug the N1, plug into the docking station, handle, and then take to the ICU. But remember that our N1 can be configured with Wi-Fi. And also if hospital has Wi-Fi environment, we can already select from here, you can see one button here, select, okay, I'm going to the ICU, surgical ICU, and I want to connect to the surgical ICU central station right now. So you click, select surgical ICU 1 maybe, and the monitor is directly connected to the central station. Display here. Okay. Even the patient is still on the way, with the patient monitor on the way. The nurse in the ICU, they can still already see the monitor data, real-time waveform, alarms, parameters of this patient, and start to prepare what was needed of this patient. Okay, so even the hospital, they have no Wi-Fi, or the monitor, no Wi-Fi. Don't worry. On the way, the monitor is collecting the data of this patient, including the data during the surgery, including the data in the OR, in the emergency ward. So maximum 120 hours data storage here. When you arrive in the ICU, just plug in, and the data will be uploaded. All the data will be uploaded. Yeah, still keep. There's no gap. We call it seamless data flow. Okay.
You don't have to press it.
Nothing, just automatic. Yeah. But sometimes you can set yours in the background configuration. You can set, okay, when there's a new patient arrive, just upload all the data, or 4 hours of data, depending on the hospital if they need. Or you can select every time you pop up window, 4 hours or 8 hours or all data. You can select. Yeah.
How many times you need to transmit the 120 hours of
It depends. It depends because depending on how much parameters is monitored. Yeah, because now it's only trend data. Sometimes it will take longer if the patient has a very big parameter list. But if only basic parameters is in a few minutes, we'll finish the transport.
Do you have any average of the?
We don't, because sometimes the translation, the data merging is not so important. It's just uploading in the background when the CPU is free. Because at the beginning, if the CPU is not free, maybe the speed is lower. It's the same as network. Sometimes like, okay, if during the transport, I lose connection of the Wi-Fi, and after 5 hours, I reconnect to the Wi-Fi, and now the data is uploading to the central station. But this also depending on is the network busy or not, because the priority of backfilling is low. The high priority is the real-time waveform and alarms. So this is the high priority, depending on the data flow, also depending on the quality of the network. It will take time or less time. And talking about Wi-Fi, so I think everybody know how to use Wi-Fi, right? You go to the restaurant, you search how to connect to the Wi-Fi, and go back home, connect to Wi-Fi automatically. So it's the same of the monitor connecting to Wi-Fi. The only difference is when you use the phone, just turn on the Wi-Fi, and there's a list of which Wi-Fi is available. And you select your Wi-Fi and input the password, that's it, right? But for patient monitor, we cannot search for a Wi-Fi. You can only know the Wi-Fi SSID input manually and password, and then connect. Because some hospital, they have different Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi for the visitors, Wi-Fi for the clinicians, nurse, doctors, and Wi-Fi for devices. So for Wi-Fi for devices, for cybersecurity reasons, sometimes it's hidden. You cannot find in the list, even using a phone. It's a hidden Wi-Fi. Okay, so you input manually the SSID and password and connect automatically.
And we support different standards, A, B, G, N. It's a different standards. Difference is 5 gig or 2.4 gig or dual band. Now in the hospital, we recommend to use everything of the devices use the 5 gig because 5 gig has no or less interference. The bandwidth is more, yeah, it's wider, and the device is using 5 gig is less because now everybody uses mobile phone, laptop on 2.4 gig. And another importance is the data rate. With the latest one, it's 600 megabytes per second, and with the old one, it's only 11. You can see the difference of the data rate. But actually, this is not the latest. They have another standard called AC. Yeah, but that's not so popular now. It's in the industry, not in the healthcare industry. So for the N, it's already the latest for the dual bands. And I also mentioned you need to connect into Wi-Fi, SSID and password, right? But this is only for, how to say, we call it personal use, personal network. And we call PSK, it's pre-shared key. The password is preset, but this is not very secure because you can tell the password to anybody and they can connect. This is not secure for the enterprise network. So what we support is the enterprise and the PSK. WPA, WPA2, these two are the enterprise, and these two are the pre-shared key. So for PSK, you can input the preset password as you are at home using. But with this, it's not only a password. You may need a certificate generated by the hospital and load into your laptop, into your mobile phone, into your patient monitor. Otherwise, you cannot connect automatically. The certificate, a username, and password. So this is enterprise. And sometimes you need to register your device by using the MAC address and register into the hospital IT. Then you are in the whitelist, you can connect. Okay, but this is some IT questions of the hospital. It's very standard. And yours, you know, before patient monitor belongs to the biomedical engineer, biomedical department, and computers managed by the IT department. Because these two are separated. Monitors, devices, and computers. But now this line is not so clear. Because monitors, a lot of them, they need to connect to the hospital network, standard network. So sometimes, or a lot of times, the IT will be involved into the devices as well. So they don't like it because the devices network is not standard. A lot of special settings, special requirements from the devices, which is not standard. It's easy to manage as a PC. So what Mindray do, we do our best to make the device networking more like a PC. Okay, so you can connect into a standard network using the standard encryption, using the standard TCP/IP communication, and also you can have remote access to the patient monitor managed by the IT. Yeah. Okay, so Wi-Fi, still Wi-Fi. We have the Wi-Fi telemetry. I think you also have this Wi-Fi telemetry here, right? TM80, the new telemetry. Before we have TMS 6016 with the box with no display, ECG and SpO2. Now this one is already discontinued. So you have the new telemetry with the Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 gig, and also touch screen. You can monitor ECG, even derived 12-lead ECG, and SpO2 and NIBP. Okay. Talking about IT, we also have Bluetooth. We have Wi-Fi and we have Bluetooth on N series and on the telemetry. So what is the purpose of Bluetooth? Something like this. The patient is wearing a telemetry. So that means we encourage this patient to have more exercise, to walk around the corridor, to take a shower, or even go to swim to have some rehabilitation. But still the patient needs to be monitored because it's not stable. We use this telemetry to monitor the cardiac the ECG and SpO2, and sometimes NIBP. But the patient wearing the telemetry is not in the room. He may be anywhere in the hospital, in the department. So how can a nurse find this patient? Or how can a nurse see this patient? From the central station, of course. But sometimes the nurse is not always in front of the central station. So we use the Bluetooth to pair these two together. The patient is wearing the telemetry, but still the nurse can see everything from here. It's like pairing your phone to your car. So you can talk on the car system. It's the same. The patient is monitored by a telemetry, but the nurse can still see real-time waveform and alarms from the patient monitor. Okay, but you know the problem of the Bluetooth is the coverage.
Yes.
It's like 5 to 10 meters. So if the patient is in the room, maybe in the bathroom, it's okay. But if it is out in the corridor, in the lobby, having some coffee, some cigarettes, that's not so okay, right? So when he is out of the coverage, it's automatically switched to Wi-Fi. Still keep the connection. Okay. So the nurse can always see the patient from the patient monitor screen. Okay. And also with the telemetry, and also later on with the N1 transport monitor, we add a we call it positioning function. Because you need to find where the patient is when you receive alarm from here, right? But you don't know where the patient is. But through the Wi-Fi technology, we can find where is the patient from the central station. Because what is Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is connecting through the access point. Access point is everywhere along the hospital. So you only need to know this telemetry is connecting to which access point. Means the patient is around this area or that area. Okay. So from the central station, we can have this kind of information set up. But this is not very important. Okay. Something like this. The patient is monitoring by telemetry, and the nurse, they can still see everything from the bedside, right? Yeah. This is very popular. You know, like in Turkey, I was there last year. There is a hospital only dedicated for planting hair. You know, yeah, for me, I don't need it. I have a lot of hair, but some of them need hair planting. So these patients, they need to be monitored, but they are not heavy. You know, they are very conscious, very healthy. Yeah. So the hospital, they give them the telemetry to monitor. They sit there wearing a telemetry, monitor ECG and SpO2. And the doctor said, okay, this screen is too small. I don't want to see like this. I want a bigger screen. And they see our Mindray N22. So, and we can pair this with the N22. So they buy N22 for each bed. But they only monitor by telemetry. So telemetry N22. I said, why you buy this? I like the rotation screen. So they have money, so why not? Yeah. Okay.
Lots of money.
Yeah, lots of money. So now it's only Mindray and Philips. We can do the pairing function. Mindray TM80 with the N series monitor, we can pair, and Philips with the MX40, the telemetry. Philips Wi-Fi telemetry can pair with the MP5. But it is said that Philips is going to extend this also to the MX series patient monitors as well. But I don't know when they will be released, or already released in some countries. Yeah. Of course, this is not so difficult to realize. It's just the workflow. Okay. Okay, so when is the time for coffee break? Is 11 or 11:30?
Okay, thanks. 11.
Yeah?
11, yes.
It's 11, right?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll take a break.
Okay.
We'll come back to the central stations.
Okay.
This part is one of the most difficult parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oye, va.